All right. Well, welcome everybody. Wonderful Wednesday afternoon in the Ides of September here. So we thank you for joining us on the every other Wednesday 3 p.m. call. And we really appreciate you joining us here. We appreciate all of the feedback that we get to help put together a call that is interesting and useful for all of you. So um, many of you know this, I'm sure, but if we move to the next slide, we'll see all the organizations that collaborate to bring this to you every other week. Want to call out Startup Colorado and their help behind the scenes every week. They're not always visible, but they are always appreciated. And the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade. We'll be hearing from Kat here in just a little bit, as well as the Colorado SBDC network as a whole, but then also very specifically on this Eastern call, the Eastern Colorado SBDC and the Central Mountain SBDC. And for those of you who don't know, I'm John Whitler with Ogallala Commons and our Grow Seco initiative. So as we get started, we have a couple of poll questions that we want to push out here at the beginning, and just want to get your input on this as we kind of take inventory of where things are at as a state of play across the state. So we'd love to know as we shift out of summer, as you look back, is it better than expected? Was it about what you expected, or worse than you expected? And then as we anticipate fall and kind of make that shift in seasons, how are you feeling about that? So this is one of the constants that you can count on, even in a pandemic, is the shift of seasons. And this is the time of year where all of us Rockies fans understand that we start calculating the odds that the Broncos could win the Super Bowl, because we're out of the World Series isn't in, and it's the same sort of thought for us here as we look back at the summer and reflect on what we learned and where things have ended up, and look forward to the future. That's kind of a theme that's going to run through our call today. So I think we could go ahead and close that poll, and we'll see the results of that, hopefully. Looks like everybody feels like everything's about what they expected. So that may not be great, but about what we expected. And the majority feel like we're maintaining where we are as we look toward the fall. And a few of us, about a quarter of us, are thinking this is the time to ramp up. So thank you very much for helping us out with that. We're going to well, you can go ahead and switch over to the agenda slide. We're going to hear from Andrew Grossman here about what the state of Colorado tourism is at the moment, and then we're going to move into a business panel. And I want to go ahead and introduce Kat and turn this over to you, Kat, to take us from here. And then Andrew Schroeder from the East Colorado SVDC will kind of bring us home at the end. So go for it, Kat. Thanks.
Great. Thanks so much, John, and welcome everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce Andrew Grossman, who's our new Director of Destination Development with the Colorado Tourism Office. So he's a colleague of mine over at OEdit. He joined the team back in April, so right at the beginning of this whole adventure that we've been on, and has some great insights from kind of being thrown in feet first of what Colorado has seen over the course of the whole summer. And sort of some of the larger trends that we're kind of seeing as we're moving into fall and winter. So with that, John, I will have you start the video. Andrew wasn't able to join us today because, of course, the tourism conference is tomorrow. So off to Andrew.
Thanks for the introduction. Well, thanks for the introduction, Kat. It's really wonderful to be joining you today. Sorry I can't be there in person or even be there live. There's a lot of existing conflicts we have this week as our team prepares to host its annual Governors Conference on September 17th. For those of you that don't know, the Colorado Tourism Office is the destination marketing and management organization for the state of Colorado. And the Colorado Tourism Office, but we also like to call ourselves the CTO, is a division of the Colorado Office of Economic Development and International Trade, with a mission to drive traveler spending through promotion and development of compelling, sustainable travel experiences throughout our four-corner state. Our marketing team at the CTO does an incredible job of selling the expectation of the benefit of visiting Colorado. And what my team does is work with local partners on the ground to make sure that we can deliver on the expectation of the benefit to ensure that we're offering high-quality visitor experiences and inspire people to return. This year's been a really hard one for the tourism industry. It's really been a hard one for all of us, actually. And what the CTO has done to help really reconcile some of the impacts that we've been feeling is that as we moved into fiscal year 21, which started on July 1st, our wildly important goal, or WIG, as it's typically called, is to develop a crisis recovery plan for the industry. What that means is that everything that we do as an organization this year, and likely the following years, will level up to, in some way, shape, or form, recovery from COVID-19. One of the primary avenues through which we're trying to achieve this aspirational vision for a crisis recovery plan is that we developed a $3 million project that we then submitted to the U.S. Economic Development Administration as part of the CARES Act recovery assistance. And although it was a $3 million project, we were only able to submit a $2.4 million grant request due to these sort of match requirements. We're still in conversations with the EDA and are hopeful that we will be officially awarded that funding, but we won't know until later this year. But in the meantime, the work that my team does will be customized to support industry recovery. Many of you may be familiar with the Colorado Rural Academy for Tourism, also known as CRAFT, which is really our primary mechanism for engaging with local partners. As we prepare to sort of get ready to develop that crisis recovery plan, it's been an important opportunity for us to look back on and then really reflect on what's happened since March, when the shutdowns really began to occur. Some of the major travel trends that we're seeing are that decision-making has changed. Some of that's been forced due to travel restrictions. So international travel is not really a thing, and domestic travel is also not really a thing right now. But really, even the way that people make decisions has changed. If you look at people's trip planning, used to occur months in advance. Again, internationally, it would occur 5 months in advance or so. And domestic travel, at least from a flight perspective, would occur about 3 or so months in advance. Because of the way that we've had travel restrictions pop up and the outcome or results of social distancing, we're seeing people make decisions way faster. We're also seeing them be way more comfortable inside of their own passenger vehicle, which has really allowed us to really believe and sort of stand by the concept that 2020 has been the year of the road trip. And I'm sure a lot of you have sort of felt that in your rural destinations. At the same time, though, visitors are also seeking solace in the great vast outdoors. And another way to summarize the bullets on this slide are that I really believe that Colorado is sort of the epicenter of what the domestic travel market is looking for in the U.S. They're looking to be inside their car to go to scenic landscapes and stay socially distant from people on our public lands. This is likely why Colorado was voted the #1 road tripper destination by AAA back in July. And we're seeing a lot of changes in the way that people experience the state because of that. Along with that, though, in addition to us sort of being the epicenter, we're seeing that recovery is happening disproportionately across the state. And sometimes we're seeing that some of the high-use destinations that sort of meet that visitor profile of scenic drives, public land, natural landscapes, those places are visitation's been returning, and at some points, again, higher than it has been in 2019. But that's not consistent across the board. Many other destinations are still struggling to recover their visitation. And with that, too, spikes in demand are changing. And one way to think about this is that, due to the high unemployment that's been happening, we're seeing more people travel throughout the week. So we're seeing kind of changes in visitor flows. But then we're also seeing, due to the increase of use on public land, we're seeing people want to move through our more rural destinations and their main streets at different times of the weekend than I think we typically see them otherwise. A big key, though, here is that although volume of visitors might be recovering or even exceeding what it was previously at different times, that does not inherently mean that previous visitor spending is back to where it used to be. a good way to think of it is that market share of tourism assets has changed. Although hotel occupancy is climbing back up to where it kind of previously was, we're still seeing market share of dispersed camping, private camping, rent by owner like Airbnb or HipCamp. We're seeing market share of those services go up, which is impacting the way that visitor spend is happening. I think just in the way that we're seeing overnights occur, we're seeing total spend per trip go down due to the lack of really spending on that hotel. We're also seeing things like indoor attractions sort of go down. And what that's really showcased as well is that there's an inherent risk of dependence on events for tourism revenue in our destinations. And the result of this is that I think it's easy to say that visitation may be returning, but collection of local lodging tax, which normally funds a lot of our local tourism organizations, the local DMOs, local chambers, that revenue is not recovered in the same way that we're seeing numbers of visitation recover, which has made budgets drop as well as staffing drop. So, resources are down while needs are up. And then it does sound like we're seeing some instances of sales tax recovering in a lot of different areas, but that doesn't have an inherent link to tourism. We're seeing sales at grocery stores, liquor stores, cannabis stores, as well as the inclusion of online sales tax and online purchasing. We're seeing that likely be more of a factor than the recovery of tourism within the destination. Opportunities that we're seeing related to this, and I think a lot of this is focusing on opportunities for the coming fall as well as the coming winter, but in some ways I think a lot of us are also thinking about how we could have done this summer better as we prepare for next summer. But regional collaboration, the more that we can share budgets, share direction, share projects, that's going to help us extend the limited resources that we have to have a larger impact, but also create a more consistent visitor experience for our travelers. I think we could talk about this one all day, but the increase of public land has really presented a lot of opportunities as we're seeing new users potentially become the next advocates for public land in Colorado. But we're also seeing an increase of wear and tear on the destinations that they're traveling to. And there's a need to basically engage with our land managers to create a stronger sense of shared stewardship of public land. As we're seeing visitor decision-making change, we're also seeing sort of demand there change. We need to be aligning the supply and promotion of tourism with the new demand that's happening in destinations. And along with that, I think there's a big shift that's starting to happen that's sort of needed right now, which is in addition to providing inspiration to travel, I think a lot of what we need to be incorporating as well is providing a lot of really good visitor information to support the types of tourism that we want to see, enhance responsible use of our lands, but also disperse people into areas that might be lesser visited. So what the Colorado Tourism Office has done since really April, once the lockdown started, we've had sort of 3 different marketing pushes. Initially, with the travel restrictions in place, our team did a really innovative and sort of groundbreaking campaign called the Wait, Ready, Set, Go campaign, which sort of set the stage for how different marketing tactics would be delivered depending on what sort of travel restrictions were in place, with Wait being stay at home, Ready being in-state, Set being sort of domestic travel returning, and Co really being international travel returning. That's really provided the framework. And then in June, we were basically authorized to move into Ready and start in-state marketing. We have not expanded into out-of-state marketing or even more so into international marketing. The bulk of our campaign work has been done in-state to date. And then looking ahead to this fall, we will continue to market in state, but we are launching our first ever fall campaign later this month. Some of the tactics that we've, again, been delivering through the current in-state marketing has been to bolster our Care for Colorado program. We really believe in Colorado as a sustainable tourism destination and have had a rich history of promoting responsible visitation through the Care for Colorado program. We've taken that platform and augmented it to include a lot of messaging about COVID-19 and how to really travel responsibly and patronize our destinations in a responsible way in the face of the current health crisis. A major piece of this is that we also launched a reopening section of Colorado.com that I would encourage all of the destinations in Colorado to participate in if you have not already done so. We do not believe right now in promoting destinations that have not authorized us to do so or provided consent. So there's a reopening section form submission that you can do to basically inform the CTO that you're ready to be promoted, and then we'll start promoting you. As part of that, we're also asking our partners to refresh Colo road trips. The way that people experience your destination has changed, and that needs to be reflected on Colorado.com. And that'll be something that we can serve up as part of the reopening section of our website. And then with that too, update business listings, work with your local businesses to do so, or even update related content on any destination level pages that we have. As we look towards the fall campaign, we are going to be prioritizing areas of need, whether that be geographical or sector-based. And then there's a huge focus on leveraging the existing content we have on Colorado.com to inspire earned media to help augment our voice. We're seeing a huge opportunity of leveraging Colorado.com. Really quickly, July 2020 traffic was up 13.7% over July 2019. We're seeing the COVID-19 alerts that we set up got more than 450,000 views since launching that in basically April. And then the reopening section has already gotten more than 100,000 clicks. So we're seeing our platform be something that visitors are looking for, and we want to partner with Colorado destinations to make sure that we are accurately promoting it. I mentioned at the start that one of the reasons why I'm not able to be there today live is that we are preparing for our annual Governor's Conference. So a little bit of a shameless plug, if you've not already done so, the Governor's Conference is on September 17th, which is Thursday, and it is free, and we strongly encourage you to register. I know it's basically tomorrow, but we definitely hope to see you there. And thank you so much for your time. Thanks again, Kat, for the invitation, and look forward to staying in touch.
All right, perfect. And we thank Andrew for that great overview. And I think as we move into our business panel, you're going to see a lot of those statewide themes reflected a little bit more close to home. Just a quick note, we did pop the registration link for the Governor's Tourism Conference in there, as well as for the free business listings on Colorado.com. And that industry.colorado.com site is also where you can look at road trips and other opportunities that he had mentioned within his talk. So with that, next slide, please. I am super excited to get to introduce our panel today. Got Pam Danahe, the Director of Tourism for the City of La Junta, and Sarah Gartzman from Sweetie's Sandwich Shop. That was a tongue twister, Sarah, in Salida. I had the pleasure of chatting with each of them a little bit earlier this week to kind of prepare for this. And I have to tell you, I'm super inspired about how everybody's adapting and looking at how summer went. So with that, I wanted to turn it over to Pam first and allow you to introduce yourself a little bit more fully, and specifically, like, what did your normal job look like pre-COVID, and what sort of new responsibilities or adaptations have you had to take on in your day-to-day role since you've been working through this summer?
Perfect. Thank you, Kat. Hello, everyone. Like Kat said, my name is Pam Danahe, and I am the Director of Tourism for the City of La Junta here in Southeast Colorado. That is my day job. I also serve on a couple of other state boards, including the Colorado Creative Industries and the Great Outdoors Colorado board representing the entire Eastern Plains. So a lot of great things that I'm involved in and that feed into the tourism aspect. But a lot of change, a lot of things have, of course, shifted since COVID has started, and we've been involved with a regional collaboration for a number of years called Canyons and Plains. It's a Southeast Colorado Regional Heritage Task Force that represents 6 counties, and we've seen a lot more increase in the regional partnership, focusing on that versus just the city perspective of tourism that we're focusing on. So that's kind of the main things that have shifted since all of this has started. And I think, Kat, that's the main thing I was supposed to talk about right now for my introduction, correct?
Yep, that's perfect. And Sarah, same thing to you. What would be your title pre-COVID, and what would it be now?
Let's see, my title pre-COVID, I think I still have the same title. So I'm Sarah Gartzman. I own Sweetie's Sandwich Shop and the Biker and the Baker in Salida, Colorado. I am a classical French pastry chef, and let's see, my job title hasn't really changed. I'm still a chef, still baking bread, still making pastries and desserts, and Still a sommelier, picking out wines to pair with all of those things and serving our community. So really that hasn't changed. I'm just doing a little bit more of it than I was before, I think, pre-COVID. And I didn't think that there were more hours in the day before this, but there were.
Yep, and that's a perfect lead in, right, to our question and our theme of the day is yeah, how did summer go? And I'll start with you, Sarah. You know, how did you sort of set expectations based on what happened, you know, maybe during the shutdown in your experience, you know, during those kind of initial 2 months where it was really super local based? What have you had to do to pivot, to adapt to that? And then, you know, once summer kind of hit, what were sort of some of the outcomes for you?
Okay. Kat, can you see me? I can't tell. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure. So let's see. When we kind of were finding out about all of the shutdowns and rules and regulations, and it was very chaotic in early March. It was all just so shocking and it felt so surreal. And my husband and I, we work together. We own our businesses together. We're just kind of like in panic mode almost, like just trying to keep up with all of the new news coming out and what we should do to be safe. So we really look to other restaurants in the city to kind of gauge how we should address the rules, and the, you know, restaurant association, how we could effectively serve our community as safely as possible. So we were big with the masks in the beginning before they were mandatory. We were big with the social distancing and the disinfecting and the cleaning and the eating outside. We closed service inside of our restaurant before that was mandated. And we did all of those things, but we really, the main thing that we did was we had a number of our staff that didn't come back to work, that didn't feel safe. And so we kind of were working as a very skeletal staff. I remember almost a decade ago when my husband and I first opened Sweeties, it was just us and one employee. And we have about 17 employees now at that particular location. And it felt very much like the first few days when it was just us doing all the things, making chicken salad, making the bread, making the sandwiches, staying late to roll out the bread, and watching it, you know, proof over proof through the buckets because no one really had time to get to it until we closed. And so we were just kind of in this catch-up mode, and we were trying to identify through all of this who our target market was. Who are these people that are still able to come in, that still have money to spend, that are still okay going out into the community and ordering food or picking it up or taking it out. And we quickly saw there was a demand for delivery. So we started doing that. We have two little kids, a kindergartner and a first grader, who obviously were not in school. So pretty much I would work in the middle of the night and bake everything, put my kids in the car during lunch, and then we'd go and deliver sandwiches around Salida. And so they kind of came to work with us. So we did delivery. We also, my husband's a big barbecue pit master. And so we brought our big smoker to work, and we would do like a monthly barbecue smoked dinner kind of delivery service for Salida. And that was really, really cool and fun. And we just were noticing that there was a lack of good food and home cooked food, and how do we get it to them? And a lot of families were really kind of struggling with, how do we make dinner every night? We've never had to do this. All of these restaurants are closed. And we just kept seeing what our little niches were and how we could help. And we just started to fill them. And it was kind of just like when we started, when we were trying to figure out who the people were that were coming in and how we could help them, and kind of gear more towards this very comfort food lifestyle and how we can talk to our customers and be there for them and support them. And so that was kind of our pivot. We also have a number of tables outside. Salida closed down the streets. So we downtown. So it's more like a kind of like a walking mall. So we have about 12 tables in the street, which has really continued to make us busy through the summer as well, that there are safe places for everybody to eat outside. Did that cover all the things?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks for that insight. And I'll have some more follow up here to that in a sec too. But Pam, sort of same question to you. What was the experience like kind of through the early months of COVID? What did summer business end up looking like? Was there anything kind of unexpected that kind of came up during that? And then, yeah, what sort of adaptations maybe that were pre-COVID that you didn't even know would help you in the long run, kind of are either gonna stick or really helped you through the summer?
Sure. Yeah. So much to what, similar to what Andrew talked about, you know, our tourism lodging tax numbers took a deep dive in March and April. We saw March, April, and even May and June, we saw nearly 60 to 75% of a decline in those months. So it was a really tough time, although we never completely shut down. Our hotels did remain open. We're a little bit different here. The city of La Junta, I work under the city as a tourism versus a lot of places that house tourism with the chamber. So we, from the very beginning, we made it a point that the tourism department was in lockstep with everything that the city of La Junta was doing, from their messaging to the county department, and you know, kind of just taking a break. The attractions closed down for a little bit when that needed to happen, and just waited until we kind of had a better idea of what was going on. And so we really took our guidance from both the city and the county level of when and how to promote tourism when it happened. So when that did happen, we've seen an increase in our numbers in in July and August, and those numbers have come up very nicely considering where we started. So we're just down about 27% from where we were last August, which is, better than we expected, to be honest. I think we, for all intents and purposes, we were planning for very low numbers to come in just because we didn't know what to expect. But we continue to have a very fiscally conservative tourism board that has spent very effectively. So we were not in the position where we had to stop spending. And I think we were very fortunate in that aspect, because it would be very stressful if we were not having any money at this point. And we have still been able to do some promotions with the Colorado Tourism Office. I mentioned in the intro too the importance of the regional collaboration that we have, and we had some great things that we were working on pre-COVID with the state, specifically with Andrew's Department of Destination Development. That has been something that we're really looking forward to from a longer term strategy, that we've been able to kind of step back and refocus and replan where we're wanting to do longer term strategies. And then of course, you know, here in La Junta in the Southeast and rural, we have an abundance of public land. We have over 400,000 acres of public land on the Comanche National Grassland. So that fit really nicely into the Great Outdoors initiative that was being promoted by the state to at least get outdoors during all this time. So that was good not only for people visiting, but for our community as well, to have that opportunity for people to get outside. And really, you know, promoting that Care for Colorado aspect a little bit that Andrew talked about as well, that getting more people to come down to our area of the state, not necessarily overloving all the spots up there that they see in the Front Range. So that's one of the key drivers of what we're trying to do as well. So, you know, it's been difficult, but I think we're faring fairly well considering our fiscally conservative spending that we've had in the past, and just hoping that our numbers continue to increase. And have some exciting things that we're working on that I think we'll talk about a little bit more. But other than that, that's kind of how we've been dealing with everything and moving forward through the summer.
Perfect. And just a quick little follow-up. I know this wasn't one of the questions that we sort of shared earlier, but like we know that like different destinations, especially sort of in Eastern Colorado, have sort of different shares of like how important tourism is to either their individual business or their individual communities. Pam, for you, how does that look in La Junta, and how did that either help or hurt La Junta kind of going through this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Kat. And that was one of the things that has really come out in this, is the importance of the fact that we are not dependent on tourism here in La Junta. It's a great asset to our economy, but we're very fortunate that it's just one of the many industries we have here. And we've noticed in the tourism industry, the communities that are 50% or more dependent on tourism really got hit hard. So I think the importance of diversification in industry is really important. But you know, Andrew also said an important piece about not being event dependent. And I think that that's a really key point, that you know, tourism a lot of time has been built around events and getting people to come for the events. And so trying to find that niche is really important. And that's one of the things that we are working on with the State Tourism Office and Destination Development, and is to find that right niche traveler that we really want to attract, that can come any time of the year and not just for that one event a year or event dependent. So it's really a big shift. And I think how tourism has been done in the past. So it's going to be a lot of changes in the future, but I think it's exciting of new ways and innovative ways of how we promote our destinations.
Yeah, awesome. And Sarah, for you, I mean, who hasn't heard of Salida, right? How many of us just love it down in the Arkansas? How did sort of your summer numbers compare to sort of what you were expecting? And then, you know, how does that either, you know, set you up, you know, for the rest of the season? You know, where are you feeling kind of on that side with what you've experienced so far?
Yeah, so us personally as restaurants, our two restaurants are not dependent on tourism. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, so they're not dependent on tourism. We've always set it up that we are here for the locals. We are here for the community that lives here full time, and every tourist is just like a cherry on top for us and a huge bonus. But you know, in the past few years, right, it's like, who hasn't heard of Salida? Who doesn't want to come? It's like a super trendy little spot. So we do really ramp up. We were not expecting to see the numbers that we did over the summer. I mean, we had days that were 50%, I mean, between 25 and 50% busier than our busiest days the previous year. And that is because of the whole new road trip trend. It's mostly tourists that are coming from the Front Range. It's mostly tourists that are coming from other places in Colorado that are looking to find somewhere new, somewhere beautiful, somewhere that can kind of service them in a like the most normalized way possible. And I think that Salida has done a really good job making things as normal as possible and really normalizing the mask up movement and the social distancing and being outside as much as possible. So we were incredibly busy. I mean, way busier than I could have ever imagined during a pandemic.
Yeah, but I love that theme that keeps coming up throughout this though too, is that, you know, if you're kind of local focused first, and of course COVID sort of shifted everybody's perspective right back into their communities, that's kind of an amazing baseline to start from. So thanks for that input. Pam, a question for you. So, you know, Andrew had mentioned in his presentation that a lot of destinations are kind of concerned about impacts and increased volume on public lands. And then also, I think you had kind of touched on this a little bit, that sort of overall shutdown of that event-driven and entertainment industry. Talk a little bit about how that landscape looks like in La Junta and in your travel region, and specifically with sort of what's become kind of one of your premier events that's tied to a natural occurrence every year.
Yeah, so it's kind of a very perfect time that I'm actually on the call today. We're at peak time of what we have down here, that is the tarantula migration, and it is people either love or hate spiders, and we've experienced both kinds of people, and we welcome them all. But like I mentioned earlier, we have over 400,000 acres of land for the U.S. Forest Service on the Comanche National Grassland, which is prime viewing for the tarantula migration, which is actually mating season for the tarantulas. It's the males that are looking for the females, and it's a lot like the fall foliage. It happens at a very short time, weather dependent, but it's usually early to mid-September through early October. And we have just seen a huge uptick in visitation. We started really promoting this last year, and we had great visitation numbers. We had great plans of what we were going to do this year. We created a tarantula working group, what we called it, and we're really looking to promote this. And then of course COVID happened, so we decided to pump the brakes on that, see where everything was going to be. And we still had people reaching out to us, and of course with the promotion of the social distancing and being outside, it actually fits really good. So we continue to work really closely with the Colorado Tourism Office. As a small destination, we take advantage of the co-op opportunities that they have. So we were recently did a Facebook co-op campaign with CTO over this last weekend, and had very positive turnout, and it was all focused on the tarantula migration that we're looking to promote, and had people down here actually while the campaign was going, and they were taking pictures of the tarantulas and posting those photos when they were down here. So it goes back to that niche market, right? Tarantula is not for everybody, but we found that there's a big interest in that. They're not native to Southeast Colorado, but because of our landscape, we're able to promote that you can come down here, and there's some pretty special driving routes that you can take that you'll be able to drive around, see some beautiful scenery, beautiful landscapes, and see tarantulas. So it's been really good for us. Even we weren't sure what to expect with everything on COVID, but I think a lot of people, even though the state isn't able to promote out-of-state visitation, they are promoting in-state. So we've seen a lot of daytime day trips, people coming down, and then we also want to promote them to go and visit our wonderful farm stands that we have along Highway 50. That it is actually perfect timing as well with the tarantula migration to between July and October. So we have some really amazing things that we're always promoting, and we're looking to grow. But there's always that flip side of it too, of we have to be really careful about how we do it. And we've had some concern from some of the citizens about people being parked on the side of the highway and not being smart about where they're going. I mentioned that we have a lot of public land, but some of that public land within that, there's private property, and people aren't always considerate or paying attention to the fact that they're turning onto private property. So we're really trying to work on that messaging, that it's okay and to view these tarantulas on public land, but not to be on the private land. So there's still some challenges that we're facing of how we communicate that, and trying to make sure we encourage people to love the 400,000 acres of land that we have, and not just one spot that would be overloved and not taken care of. So it's definitely a concern, and those were a lot of the topics that we're hoping to address with our tarantula working group, that we will continue to look at and plan for in the future. But it is a really exciting time for that. And fortunately, with a lot of our tourist attractions that are indoor are closed or not able to have as many guests. So this way we can offer as many people, welcome, I should say, as many people as possible with the wide open spaces that we have down here. We also have the Bensold Fort, which is an open air outdoor attraction that has seen able to be open through this. That one's a little bit trickier because they've almost seemed too much visitation in a way that they did try to do some of their summer events and felt like when they had those events that social distancing wasn't as doable. So they've actually decided, unfortunately, to cancel their winter events just because we want to still remain safe and keep our community safe and our numbers low. So, but at the same time, you know, there's still a lot of people coming out and visiting that. So if people do decide to come, there's plenty for people to do. And we're encouraging that as much as we can.
Awesome. Thanks for that. And Sarah, for you, there was something when we chatted the other day that just really struck me, was this, you know, very, very personal connection to your community and your staff, right down to the little adaptation that you gave them over the summer. Can you talk a little bit about that realization that owning a restaurant is about more than just feeding the people and intense connection to your community?
I feel like when we were talking earlier, that just came out so naturally and eloquently, and I was even impressed with myself. So I don't even know if I can do it again, but when Kat and I talked a couple of days ago, I was just saying that we kind of my husband and I kind of took our businesses back to like our startup mode again, and we became this, you know, it felt like it became this tiny family business again, and it was just us and talking to our customers and being able to serve them. And I think that I realized moving forward that really it's so much more than the sandwiches and the bag of chips and their soda and their lunch. It was really having this human connection with them that through all of this, everyone was missing so much. And so, you know, we didn't close for a day, and we still haven't closed one day. And just having that consistency for our community and being here, being able to provide some sense of normalcy in the human connection realm was so important. And I think that it affected our business so much more than we could have ever imagined, because all these people had this amazing gratitude that they could still come up to the counter and order and see us. And even though, you know, personally we're completely suffering and exhausted and worn out like nothing else, being able to come in and talk to someone who's still smiling and serving you, and like, so we're so grateful for each other, right? Like, I'm so grateful for these customers coming in and ordering and, you know, paying us for lunch, and they're so grateful to have someone being kind to them and serving them and actually handing them food or delivering it to them contactlessly to their front door and ringing the doorbell and texting them to tell them that their food is sitting outside. Just having this connection that we all really have been missing so much. I mean, I really have so much gratitude for that, and the fact that we've been able to continue that through all of this, because personally, that's the hardest part for me, is that, you know, we can't hug people or see our friends. And so having that, at least that little piece, that's the only piece really I can control, has been really important. And like I told Kat the other day, I just want to be able to continue that, you know, no matter how busy we are or how overwhelmed we are or exhausted or how many projects we have going on, you know, being able to take the time to say thank you to someone and ask them how they're doing, even if they're going to tell you that they're having the worst day they've ever had, is really important. And to me, that's what owning a restaurant is. That's what being a chef is being able to share that connection, that serving someone, like what it really means is to serve someone fully and their whole being, not just because they're hungry.
Yeah, and that's such a beautiful thing to move forward. And the other piece that was my favorite was that you noticed your staff getting super tired, and so you bought them all great running shoes because of the long day. So awesome, simple adaptation.
We were trying to think, you know, my husband and I were just trying to think, like, God, our people are just working so hard. We want to thank them. Like, we don't have extra money. We're exhausted. We're figuring out how to pay our mortgage ourselves. What can we do for them? So we bought them all gift certificates to get themselves really nice shoes so that they could kind of weather the storm with us.
Yeah, that's perfect. So then just to finish out with you then, so what's the thing as you sort of move into winter and things get a little colder, what's the thing that's kind of keeping you up at night or sort of concerning you moving forward?
I mean, I think honestly, my personal existence is the most nerve-wracking at this point. My husband and I haven't taken a day off of work in 7 months. And so we're really tired. We're exhausted. I mean, there are a lot of days that just to get through all of this and make it work, you know, we have employees who have a stuffy nose or a headache, and so they can't come to work. And before this would have not been a big deal. They would have been fine, but we have to have them stay home. So that happens like all the time. So there are days when I work from 2 a.m. until 6 p.m. Or, you know, 4 p.m. until 2 a.m. because I have to open Sweeties in the morning and I've already worked a whole night at the Biker and the Baker and someone can't come to work. So my personal, I mean, I don't know if it's like super vain, but it's just been so much to get through all of this. Like, I think I just don't know how much longer we can sustain this type of work environment. And so I don't know when that's going to get better. Financially, I think our businesses are going to be okay. We have tons of customers and people that love us. We have like a cult sandwich following. We're going to be fine. But I think it's just being able to sustain our energy and our exhaustion levels at this point. Being a chef is hard enough. Owning restaurants is hard enough during a pandemic. And when you don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, it's stressful. So I think that's the hardest part for me, is like, how do I continue to put everything on the line again when I don't know what the next day is going to look like?
Yeah, that's perfectly put. I mean, it's how intensely like we all feel that, and especially when it kind of comes into your day-to-day times so many hours over. Pam, same question to you. What's sort of the biggest challenge for you in your role, or looking at your business community in La Junta and the region, that you see kind of moving into the winter as the weather gets colder, or kind of into this ongoing pandemic? And then just to kind of close it out, what's the thing that you think that you're going to kind of continue as one of the adaptations that you think will really help set you up for better success in the future?
Sure. You know, I think the biggest challenge is the unknown. And I think that can go anywhere in so many ways, but we don't know when we're going to be able to have our indoor facilities open and be welcoming people, and we're not sure when the restaurant. So it's just this unknown of when we can really start promoting and welcoming people back, which everybody's faced with, right? It's not just us. So just keeping in close contact with the Colorado Tourism Office has really been helpful to keep a pulse on what's going on, just because they're seeing a lot of different trends. But I think it's just, you know, we see it from what Sarah said, from a personal level to our kids, to adults. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, and a lot of times uncertainty and unknown, it's just, you're not sure with where to go. So we just have to continue working on those long-term projects. And so that's what we're really focusing on right now. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a couple of great projects that we're working on with Colorado Tourism Office Destination Development, and our niche rollout plan that we're working on that has some great projects built within that to focus on building out some of our wonderful heritage stories that we have down here. And so being able to focus on that, we've have new partnerships with History Colorado to help us with that, looking into different partnerships of how we can really enhance the regional representation and our regional reach from a tourism perspective, from a long-term perspective. So our focus, you know, mine personally, I've been able to focus a lot more on the regional aspect as well, given more time that I guess I have from not as much time needing to be spent on the local level, but at the same time, it kind of all works together. And it's just been really refreshing to have these long-term projects that we're able to focus on that I think are going to be really fruitful for us and exciting once we are able to build out these stories that then we can share with travelers and we can share with our cultural history buffs and furthermore, just continue to promote the region and be ready and willing and able to welcome people back when we get the green light that we're able to open.
Thanks for that insight, and to both of you, Sarah and Pam, thank you so much for taking some time out of your days. And I know it's still work to be on a panel, but I hope it was a little calm moment for you as well as it was for me. So thanks to both of you. Again, if any of you who are listening in, if you have any questions, pop them into the Q&A. We'll be monitoring those. But I'm going to turn it back over to Andrew at this point from our East Colorado SBDC to take us through some upcoming resources and learning opportunities.
Awesome. Thank you, Kat. Thank you so much. And I want to, again, just thank all of our speakers, our business panel, and our sponsors for making today's call possible. So thank you guys so much for all of your time. We really appreciate it. If there are any questions, go ahead and email, and we can enter this in the chat box as well, but startupco@colorado.edu, and we'll make sure that we get you connected to the appropriate resources. Also wanted to bring up the Energize Colorado Gap Fund. Round 1 applications have closed for this, but applications will be reopening on October 5th. So you can visit energizecolorado.com for more information there. And you can also access your current application if you were able to apply for round 1. There also is pro bono legal assistance provided for small businesses who are navigating COVID-19 challenges. So if you are interested in some of these pro bono legal services, please visit www.coloradocovidrelief.org for more information and see if your business is applicable for some of this assistance through CCLR. One additional thing here as well, again, if you have any questions, please email those to Startup Colorado or startupco@colorado.edu. We will also be sending out a recording of today's presentation and future presentations, so that will be sent out today as well. For some upcoming events that we have here with the East Colorado SBDC, we've put on a Combating COVID marketing series with Logan County Chamber of Commerce. And this has gone really well for us here over this past month. And obviously we are halfway through. We are in part 3 of a part 5 series, but those have been recorded and will be available on demand. So if you are interested in that, we really encourage you to join us. Part 3 took place here this morning. Part 4 and part 5 will be taking place later this month as well. So really encourage you to join us if you are able to do so. And like I said, parts 1 through 3 have been pre-recorded and are available on demand. Again, too, I would like to introduce Mickey Lewis. Mickey Lewis is with the Southeastern Colorado, the Southeast Colorado SBDC, and she has some more information for us on the SWAT program as well. So I think Mickey's on the call as well, and just could briefly go over that SWAT program with us while we have her.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me a few moments just to talk about a program that we created. We actually created this through CARES Act funding. And it's actually called SWAP, Southeast Website Advancement Project. Our moniker is that the world is changing, so should you. Swap out the old and make room for the new. And really, this is about helping our small businesses find and create and update their virtual platforms. And this is something that is not just a Southeast Colorado issue. We're seeing this across the entire state. And I think that COVID has very much leveled the playing field. It's reminded most of us that all of this amazing technology that we have, we're probably not using it to its full capacity. We partnered with Barnett Publishing, which is a local publishing entity out of Kiowa County, and they produce the Kiowa County Independent. And they are partnering on the piece that is it's the development of websites. So whether you have a website and you want to update it, or you would like to have a website, or you're just wanting to learn more so that you feel more comfortable, less intimidated by that process. The partnership that we've created and the project that we have created has made it really super easily accessible for all of our businesses. We definitely have put a lot of work into how we're talking with our clients, because sometimes you think you know what you might want to look like virtually, but there are specific things that from an SBDC standpoint, we want to be sure that our small businesses are promoting themselves in the best way possible. And Barnett Publishing actually purchased the domain Colorado Main Street. So any participants in this program will automatically be put on that Main Street. So it's like a virtual mall for Southeast Colorado. Our hope is that this is something that will catch fire across the state of Colorado, because this is something that in all of our regions, we have our small businesses who maybe in the past have relied on word of mouth, when a virtual platform is a way that they can share not only what they have to offer, but they can set up online carts. They can generate a wide variety of funds. And then it's also a way for us to take Colorado Main Street and have it be used across the state, so that when someone from outside the state is saying, hey, I want to go to Colorado and I think I might want to go to this area, that they would be able to look up Colorado. Google would pull up Colorado Main Street and they can enter this virtual mall of all of these businesses that they could access. And at the same time, if they wanted to access that business independently and not go through Colorado Main Street, they have the ability to do that as well, because our businesses will own their own website. This is not about what we've seen in the past, where maybe an entity has set up websites and then you can only work with them, because yes, our small businesses need that virtual platform, but we also have small businesses that are amazing in graphic art design, in website design, in tech support. And so we feel that this program has the ability to be more than just your straight line, I need a website. And it is absolutely about different regions finding and working with those small businesses so that we are promoting everyone, and so that your tech support is in your area. But at the same time, we're all connected and we're promoting ourselves in the best way possible. Honestly, what has been so exciting about this is that we have not done a hard open of this. We've not heavily promoted this, and we are already packed with a long list of participants who want to be involved in this project. So look for more that will be coming up. And we're certainly available to answer any questions. And I just want to thank your team for giving me the opportunity to talk about something that has kind of taken on this amazing life of its own. And we're excited about where we could go from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Mickey. Again, here are just some resources for today's presentation, of course, and then for some additional business resources, please visit coloradosbdc.org. And any questions, again, I have that email address for you here. I will include that in the chat. Please direct those to startupco@colorado.edu. It is 4 o'clock, but I will let the rest of you guys have your afternoon back. But thank you so much for your time. Thanks for joining us. And we will see you not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday following that on the 30th.